Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. And welcome to today's forum on communication in the digital age. Communication has always been one of the most basic and important human skills. Yet, the way we communicate today is very different from even 20 years ago. In the past, communication relied on letters, phone calls, or face-to-face conversation, methods that were slower, thoughtful, and rich in tone, body language, and facial expression. But today, social media and messaging apps have completely transformed how we connect. We now rely on short text, abbreviation like IDK or OMW, and quick reaction like emojis or GIFs to express our thoughts and feelings. While these make communication faster and more engaging, it also increases the risk of misunderstanding, especially when tone, context, or cultural differences are missing. So, in today's session, our presenters will explore these changes in detail, how digital platforms shape communication, why miscommunication happens online, and how emojis, symbols, and cross-cultural differences influence the way we are understood. So, they will also discuss practical strategies to communicate more clearly, professionally, and respectfully in digital space. So to begin with, let me introduce you the presenter one, Ms. Nalissa, and the presenter two, Ms. Anis Faqihah. Okay, presenter one, Nalissa, who will explain how digital platforms have changed communication and why these changes matter for all of us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. So, I am Nalissa binti Hashim, and good morning, everyone. Today, I will be discussing how digital platforms have changed communication and why this change matters for all of us. Communication has always been a basic human skill, but the way we communicate today is very different from the way people communicate years ago. In the past, communication often happened through letters, face to face conversations. These forms were generally slow and thoughtful. They allowed time to think before responding, and messages were supported by tone, body language, and facial expressions. However, in the digital age, social media and messaging apps have transformed communication so drastically that our habits, expectations, and even our interpretations of messages have changed. Social media has created a world where communication is fast, brief, and highly immediate. Instead of writing full or well structured sentences, many people now rely on short phrases or single word responses because it saves time, energy, and matches the fast pace of digital interaction. For example, instead of saying, I do not know, many users simply type IDK. And instead of saying, I am on my way, they type OMW. Messages that once required explanations or detailed context are now replaced with abbreviations, acronyms, or even single letters such as K, U, or BTW, which means by the way. These forms of communication are not only faster, but have become part of new digital language that young people use daily. Does any of you have encountered experiences like this?
Oh yes, I completely agree with presenter one, Need Nalisa. In fact, this remind me one of my personal experience I had just last month. One of my friends sent me a message saying, Anis, I will finish my assignment part tomorrow. Sorry for the late reply. I was AFK. I stared at the message for almost 10 seconds trying to figure out what AFK meant. At first, I thought it was a typo or maybe some sort of slang I wasn't supposed to understand. Later, I found out it meant away from keyboard, which basically means the person wasn't online.
Yes, exactly, Anis. Those kinds of experiences made us realize how easily confusion happens online, even when people don't mean any harm. Many young people use abbreviations automatically because they are so familiar with digital communication. But for someone who isn't used to it, like teachers, parents, or even friends from different backgrounds, this can cause misunderstandings. Another important transformation is the rise of non-text communication. In today's digital environment, visual content plays a much more powerful role than written language. On platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and X, people express emotions, ideas, and reactions using photos, videos, GIFs, memes, or even filters instead of long written explanation. A 10-second TikTok video can summarize a personal experience more effectively than a paragraph of text. A meme can communicate humor, frustration, or agreement instantly without requiring a long explanation. This shift shows that digital communication is becoming more visual, more symbolic, and less dependent on traditional sentences. For many young users, sending a meme or GIF is now the equivalent of expressing emotions through facial expressions or tone of voice. This shift toward shorter, faster, and more visual communication has also changed our attention span. Because we are constantly exposed to rapid information such as short videos, quick updates, scrolling content, so we expect everything to be equally quick and easy to understand. So long messages often feel overwhelming to read, and many users simply skip or ignore them. As a result, messages today must be more direct, simple, and clear to keep the reader's attention. When a message is too long or unclear, the reader may lose interest within seconds or worse, misinterpret the meaning entirely. For instance, the word sure can be read as genuine agreement, sarcastic annoyance, or even anger, depending on the mood of the reader. The same applies to short responses like okay, fine, whatever. Without tone and body language, these words become ambiguous and easily misunderstood. Typing too fast adds to the problem. A missing comma or a spelling mistake can completely change the meaning of a message. A famous example is the difference between let's eat, comma, grandma and let's eat, grandma. So the first one is an invitation, but the second one is a disaster. Yet on social media, such mistakes happen frequently because people prioritize speed over clarity. Let me share a short example. Imagine you text your classmate, "Can you help me with my homework?" They respond with, "Okay." But if you are in a good mood, you might think that they are being cooperative and helpful. But if you are tired or anxious, you might suddenly feel that they are annoyed or unwilling to help you. Meanwhile, the classmate may have typed okay simply because they were busy or typing on the go. These small these small misunderstandings could grow into conflict if neither person clarifies their attention or interpretation. This is why awareness is so important. We need to be mindful about how we ourselves might be perceived by others and how we ourselves might misinterpret what others are trying to say. So, what can we do to reduce miscommunication? The first step is to write clearly. Instead of replying with a vague okay, it helps to add context, such as sure, I can help you with that after lunch. In summary, digital platforms have encouraged a communication style that is faster, shorter, and visual, and also more emotionally compact. While this makes communication convenient and engaging, it also increases the chance of misunderstanding because of the tone, context, and facial expressions are lost. Therefore, understanding how these changes affect clarity and interpretation is essential in today's digital age.
Thank you, Nalissa, for that detailed and insightful explanation. You have clearly shown how digital platforms have reshaped the way we communicate, making our messages faster, shorter, and more visual, but also more vulnerable to misunderstanding. What stands out from your points is that digital communication is not just about technology, it's about people. The way we type, the emojis we choose, and even the speed of our replies can influence how others interpret us. So, to build on that, I'd like to bring in Anis. Since your focus is on language and symbols, especially emojis, could you help us understand how these small visual cues shape meaning in online communication and why do they matter so much today, especially when we interact across different cultures and age groups?
Thank you. My name is Anis Faqihah, and building on what has been discussed, I will focus on how language and symbols, especially emojis, shape communication in this digital age and why they matter so much in cross-cultural settings. In online communication, our words carry meaning, but our symbols, punctuation choices, and emoji use influence how that meaning is interpreted. Emoji has gained significant popularity and has emerged as a crucial element in this digital world. Since 2016, 92% of the online populace incorporate emoji into their message, and this number has only grown by according to Gazafa 2022. Notably, Malaysia have embraced emoji usage as evidenced by data from 2015 that show Malaysian had led the pack emoji utilization compared to other countries. So unlike face-to-face communication, digital platform remove tone, facial expression, and gesture. Therefore, we rely heavily on writing cues and symbolic cues to express emotion, intention, and politeness. However, these cues are not always interpreted consistently. Research in digital linguistics and intercultural communication shows that symbols like emojis, abbreviations, and reaction icons can change meaning based on cultural background, generational differences, and social expectation. This means that successful digital communication today require awareness, sensitivity, and clear judgment. Alright, for the first point, first of all, emoji act as emotional clarifiers, where in face-to-face interaction, our tone or facial expression naturally signals how we feel. However, in text-based communication, those cues are missing. Emojis help replace them. A smiley emoji can soften a request. A crying emoji can show sympathy. A laughing emoji can tell the reader that the writer intends humor. For many young people, emojis feel natural. They make conversation feel human and less robotic. They also reduce the chance of misunderstanding, especially when discussing sensitive issues. However, what's important is not just the presence of the emoji, but the intention behind it. Even one symbol can shift how the entire message is interpreted, from harsh to friendly, from flat to expressive.
I really agree with that. Sometimes when I send a plain message, it looks too serious. So adding a simple smiley emoji makes it feel warmer and less tense. Honestly, there were times where my friend thought I was upset just because I replied with a full stop. I didn't even realize how cool it looked until she told me. That's when I started using emojis more intentionally, just to show that I'm not angry or being rude. It really changes the whole tone.
Yes, exactly. Many people underestimate how much tone shift when you include or remove an emoji. Now, this brings us to an important point that emojis are not universal symbols. What feels friendly to one culture may appear rude, sarcastic, or strange to another. For instance, the folded hands emoji shows a cultural variation where in Malaysia and other Asian regions seen as gratitude, respect, or a polite request. In Western contexts, many people interpret it as a symbol of prayer rather than politeness. These differences arise because emojis do not come with fixed official meanings. Their interpretation are shaped by culture, social norm, exposure, and even personal experience. This is why miscommunication can easily happen online. And a symbol that feels supportive or polite to one person may feel sarcastic or inappropriate to someone from a different background or different age. So, what's more, even within the same country, emoji interpretation differs by age group and familiarity with digital culture. Young users often use emojis playfully or ironically. For example, young Malaysians sometimes use the backward smiley emoji, not the emoji, so to show sarcasm or playful irritation. So the order will seem that the smiley emoji is a message genuine. So it shows that emojis carry meaning, but the meaning never been fixed. Therefore, digital communication need to be more thoughtful as we use it to different culture and different age group.
That's so true. I once used the crying emoji to show that something was funny, but another lecturer thought it was upset. That was a big mistake.
Yes, that was a perfect example of how easily meaning can shift depending on the audience and how our generation see it. And another major aspect of digital communication is professionalism, where emojis are effective for casual communication by informal or academic setting. Overusing emojis can make a message appear unprofessional. This is especially important when communicating with lecturers, supervisors, or colleagues from different cultural backgrounds and different age. People may interpret heavy emoji usage as overly emotional, childish, or not serious. Another crucial aspect of digital professionalism is the way we construct our message through tone, language choice, and emotional discipline. Tone, for example, plays a significant role in how our words are perceived. When we use all caps, such as typing "please send this by today" all caps, the message can easily be interpreted as shouting or expressing frustration. This can unintentionally create tension, especially in academic or workplace setting. Similarly, the use of slang and informal abbreviation like LOL, U instead of YOU, K, BTW, or IDK, they seem harmless, but actually in professional communication, this expression can appear dismissive or overly casual. They may give the impression that the sender is not taking the conversation seriously. This is why it is important for us to watch our words. So, in contrast, the short and brief response like noted with thumbs up or the comment may come across as abrupt or lacking sincerity, especially when communicating with teachers, supervisors, or individuals from different backgrounds. Beyond language and tone, emotional control is another essential element of professionalism online. Digital platforms allow us to respond instantly, which increases the risk of emotional or impulsive reaction. A message typed in frustration, even if deleted later, can still be screenshot, forwarded, or taken out of the context. Maintaining discipline before responding by pausing, reviewing our words, and considering political interpretation help protect our credibility and digital reputation. So, in a world that is easily traceable and commonly accessible, we need to have a protection of ourselves in sending message. So, to prevent digital misunderstanding, a simple habit is helpful. You need to post first and then you reflect if the message is good enough and then you revise and then you can post it. Then this message encourages us to consider how the tone might be interpreted. Think about cultural difference in simple use. Check if the message sounds respectful. Avoid emotional outbursts or sarcasm. Ensure that emojis are appropriate to the context. So by doing so, we build a strong digital identity by our professionalism, respect, cultural sensitivity. So in conclusion, digital communication today is shaped by both language and symbol, and these elements influence how we are understood across different cultures. Emoji can express emotion effectively, but they also can lead to misunderstanding when cultural or generational differences are ignored. Similarly, professionalism online requires clarity, emotional awareness, respectful, intentional communication. By using language and symbol wisely, we can strengthen our communication skill and interact more meaningful from people with diverse backgrounds.
Okay, thank you, Anis. You highlight not only how emojis and symbols shape our emotional expression online, but also how essential it is to maintain professionalism, cultural sensitivity, and self-awareness when we communicate digitally. Your example really show how easily meanings can shift from one person to another. So now we already understand how language and symbols influence interpretation.
Yes, Ayah Shahirah, could you share your insight on this issue? I believe your perspective will help guide the discussion and give us a clearer direction before we continue.
Yeah, sure. So, in today's digitally connected world, social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp, and many more allow people from different cultures to interact instantly. However, this convenience also brings challenges, particularly when individuals with diverse cultural backgrounds interpret message differently. Communication on social media is no longer shaped by geographical boundaries, rather, it is influenced by cultural expectation, communication styles, and digital habits. Therefore, understanding how cultural differences shape online communication is essential for building healthy, respectful, and meaningful interaction. So, this explore how cultural norms influence digital communication, why misunderstanding occurs online, and how individuals can communicate more effective across cultures. So, to begin with, communication styles vary significantly across cultures, and these differences often appear in digital interaction. One of the most important frameworks to explain these differences is the distinction between high context and low context culture. So, high context cultures such as Japan, Malaysia, Korea, and China rely heavily on indirect messages, subtle cues, and shared understanding. Their communication tends to be polite, nuanced, and deeply influenced by social relationship. For instance, a Japanese user might respond to an invitation by saying, "I will consider it," which is a polite way of declining. However, a person from a low context culture might interpret this response as a possible acceptance, not realizing the cultural meaning behind the phrase. On the other hand, low context cultures such as the United States, Germany, and Australia prefer communication that is direct, clear, and explicit. So people from these cultures typically express their thoughts openly and expect others to do the same. Feedback is delivered straightforwardly, which may appear rude or insensitive to individuals from high context culture. For example, a German user may comment, "This is incorrect," when giving feedback, and while this is considered normal and efficient communication in their culture, someone from high context background might perceive it as harsh. So these contrasting styles show how cultural expectations shape digital interaction and why misunderstanding occurs when users assume their communication style is universal. So, another factor that contributes to cross-cultural miscommunication is the use of emojis, memes, humor, and digital symbols, as stated by Anis. So, what appears friendly in one culture may be interpreted negatively in another. For example, memes that rely on sarcasm, irony, or culturally specific humor often fail to translate across cultures. A joke intended to be funny may instead appear confusing or offensive when shared with someone unfamiliar with the cultural background behind it. So this highlights the complexity of digital expression and the importance of cultural awareness when interacting online. Time-related communication habits also vary across cultures and can influence perception of politeness or respect. In fast-paced cultures such as United States or Singapore, quick replies are often expected and delayed response may be perceived as in disinterest. So in contrast, users from cultures such as Japan or Indonesia may take longer to reply because they choose their words carefully to maintain respect and politeness. Some cultures use many emojis to express warmth and enthusiasm, while others prefer short, simple replies. When individuals interpret this difference incorrectly, misunderstanding arise. A slow response may be seen as ignorance or disrespect, when in reality it reflects cultural norm. This example demonstrates that digital communication is not only shaped by the platform but also by cultural expectations surrounding communication speed, tone, and also emotional expression. Misunderstanding on social media occur when individuals assume that others share their communication style. Differences in directness, emoji interpretation, humor, and reply expectation can cause confusion, frustration, or even conflict. For example, a Malaysian user might comment, "You look so skinny now," intending it as a compliment. However, someone from Western culture, where body-related comments are sensitive, might find the statement offensive or inappropriate. Such situations illustrate how cultural norms shape perception and why awareness is essential when interacting with individuals from different backgrounds. So, do you guys agree with me?
Yes, Alia, and I also found your example about the comment, "You look so skinny now," very interesting. In Malaysia, it's usually meant as a compliment, but in Western countries, it can be sensitive. So my question is, how can individuals learn which comments are culturally acceptable and which might cause offense? Is this something we should all research ourselves, or is it a shared responsibility between the speaker and the listener?
So, I believe the responsibility is shared between both the speaker and the listener. The speaker should try to be mindful, especially when commenting on sensitive topics like appearance, because what seems friendly in one culture may be uncomfortable in another. Using simple, neutral language help avoid misunderstanding. At the same time, the listener should remember that many comments are shaped by cultural habit, not bad intention. Instead of reacting negatively, they can ask politely for clarification. When both sides stay open-minded and patient, communication becomes clearer and cross-cultural interaction on social media become more respectful and positive. So, to navigate these challenges, several strategies can improve cross-cultural communication on social media. The first strategy is to use simple and universal language whenever possible. Idioms, slang, and colloquial expressions may be difficult for non-native speakers to understand. Terms like spill the tea, ghosting, or I'm dead are familiar to English-speaking users but may confuse others. Replacing such expressions with clear alternatives help reduce misunderstanding and ensure message can be understood globally. Secondly, Individuals should avoid unnecessarily direct or ambiguous wording that could be interpreted differently across cultures. Instead of saying, "What do you want?" it might sound rude. So one could say, "How can I help you?" Similarly, replacing comments like "explain" with "could you share more details?" So it creates more respectful tone, which is appreciated in most cultures. So small adjustment in phrasing demonstrate consideration and build positive digital interaction. So another important strategy is to practice patience and clarify politely when a message is unclear. Rather than making assumption, users can ask questions such as, "Could you explain what do you mean?" or "Do you mean this?" politely. So polite clarification prevents miscommunication and shows willingness to understand diverse perspectives. This approach not only avoids conflicts but also promotes meaningful conversation. Respecting a difference in communication styles is also essential. Instead of judging someone as rude, unfriendly, or uninterested, users should recognize that communication behaviors are shaped by cultural norms. Directness does not necessarily indicate anger, and short replies do not always mean disinterest. Understanding these differences allows users to interpret messages more accurately and respond appropriately. And finally, individuals should practice cultural sensitivity when sharing content online. Before posting, it is important to consider whether the content could be misinterpreted or potentially offend someone from another culture. Humor, stereotypes, and personal opinions often vary significantly across culture. Therefore, being mindful helps maintain a respectful and inclusive online environment. In conclusion, social media has transformed the way we communicate, but cultural differences continue to play a major role in shaping digital interaction. Understanding high context and low context communication styles, being cautious with emojis and humors, and recognizing different replies habits are crucial steps in avoiding misunderstanding. So, by using clear clarification politely, respecting cultural difference and practicing sensitivity, we can build more positive, meaningful, and respectful interaction across culture. Ultimately, social media connects us to the world, but cultural awareness strengthens those connections and ensures that our communication remains thoughtful, inclusive, and effective in a global digitally community.
Wow, we have a lot of meaningful insight today. However, I have a question to ask to make sure that we fully understand this topic. Anis, you shared interesting insights about emoji interpretation and digital professionalism. For the second one, could you elaborate how young people can balance expressing themselves creatively online while still maintaining professionalism, especially when communicating with teachers, employees, or people from different cultural backgrounds?
Well, thank you for the question. I think this is a very important issue, especially for young people who move between informal and formal online spaces every single day. So first, balancing creativity and professionalism starts with understanding context. Online communication is not one size fits all. The way we chat with friends using emojis, memes, or short forms does not always translate well when we communicate with teachers, lecturers, future employers, or someone from a different cultural background or age. So the key is to adjust our tone based on who we are talking to and why. Second, tone management is crucial. Young people often express themselves very freely online, but professionalism means being more intentional with word choice. Instead of writing with in all caps, short form, or impulsive messages, we should pause and ask, will this message still represent me? Well, if someone screenshots it and shares it, is because once something goes online, we lose control of it. Finally, a good practical guideline for students is formal message first, personality second. Write a clear sentence, check grammar, avoid emotional ratio, and then, if appropriate, add a small emoji to show love. This way, creativity is not lost, but professionalism remains visible. So, therefore, in short, young people can balance creativity and professionalism by being mindful of context, intentional with symbols, and persistent in showing respect regardless of the platform.
Wow. Okay, Nalissa. Earlier, you explained how digital platforms have changed the way we communicate and why communication happens online. For the second round, can you describe in more detail how these changes affect real life relationships, such as friendship, classroom communication, or teamwork, and what long term habits young people might develop if they really rely heavily on fast, short digital messages?
Thank you, Aleeya, for the question. Digital platforms have changed how young people communicate, and these changes strongly affect real-life relationships. When friendships depend on short text, emojis, and quick replies, conversations often become shallow because tone and facial expressions are missing online. Misunderstandings easily happen. For example, thinking someone is upset just because they replied briefly. Over time, this can make young people less confident in face-to-face communication and less skilled in expressing their feelings clearly. In classrooms, digital habits influence how students interact with teachers and peers. Many are used to multitasking and fast scrolling, so their attention span becomes shorter. They may also feel safer typing behind the screen than speaking aloud. This affects group discussions, presentations, and collaborative learning, where clear communication and active listening are essential. Students who rely on digital shortcuts may struggle to explain ideas in detail or follow instructions properly. In teamwork, brief online style messages often cause confusion. Real life teamwork requires clarity, negotiation, and patience, skills that can weaken when young people are used to fast and short messaging. Miscommunication can easily occur because team members assume others understand their short messages. In the long term, relying heavily on quick digital communication can create habits such as avoiding eye contact, struggling with deeper conversations, or feeling uncomfortable with emotional expression. These habits can affect future relationships, workplace communication, and personal confidence. Therefore, while digital platforms are convenient, young people must balance online messaging with real-life communication to build stronger, clearer, and more meaningful connections.
That's a good point, Nalissa. Thank you.
Aleeya, Shahirah, you explained how culture shape digital communication style. Building on that, can you discuss how social media can be used to positively to improve cross-cultural understanding and reduce conflict? For example, what practical steps can individuals or platforms take to promote respectful, culturally sensitive global communication?
So, social media can be a powerful tool for improving cross cultural understanding when it is used intentionally. Individuals can promote respectful communication by using clear language, avoiding stereotypes, and taking time to learn about other cultures before reacting. Platforms also play an important role, for example, by providing reporting tools, cultural context features, or educational reminders about respectful behavior. Creating or following pages that celebrate global traditions can also reduce misunderstandings. Overall, when users practice empathy and platforms encourage digital citizenship, social media becomes a space where people learn from one another, appreciate differences, and reduce unnecessary conflict. So, to sum up, communication skills are a vital foundation for thriving in the digital era. They help individuals interpret information, manage conflict, and understand diverse cultural perspectives in online spaces. Digital platforms can connect people worldwide, but without clear and respectful communication, this connection may lead to confusion or conflict. By practicing cultural awareness and responsible message sharing, individuals contribute to a healthier online environment. Strengthening communication skills not only supports personal growth but also encourage ethical digital citizenship. Ultimately, effective communication is key to building meaningful relationships and creating positive interaction in an increasingly interconnected world. So I think that is the end of the forum session. I'm Aleeya Shahirah. Thank you for listening.
My name is Faqihah. Thank you for this.
And my name is Nalissa. Thank you for listening to us.
Bye.